Rohan, thanks for joining us today. We're obviously going to be speaking about the mental aspects of bowling. Now, let's kick things off by asking you about how you bowl under pressure.
Okay, so pressure, right? Pressure is something that you create on yourself. Let me give you an example. So why is it a lot easier to bowl in the nets as opposed to bowling in a game? When you're in the nets, all you're thinking about is yourself, focusing on bettering yourself. But once you come out to the middle, there's suddenly an opponent that you're bowling to. And there are people who are watching you. And if you do bad, that can possibly mean that your team's going to lose. So at that point, what you got to tell yourself and how do you bowl and stay calm whilst doing it is you got to stick to your basics. What do you practice in the nets? So for me, I'm an off spinner, right? So the stock ball is something that I bowl very often. That is something I know how well I can execute. So exactly when I know which balls that I can bowl, until I'm on top of the batsman, this is what I'm going to keep doing. And once I get my rhythm, it's a lot easier, and that's when you get this opportunity to try and experiment and try new things. But until then, stick to the basics, stick to what you know best, and that's off spin for me. So keep doing that until the pressure's off you.
And does that apply to all manner of batsmen, whether it's let's say one of the better batsmen in an opposition team versus a weaker one? Is there more pressure when you're facing up to someone who's obviously of much better reputation?
Obviously. So when there's a better batsman, obviously there's this thing at the back of your mind as to how he can sort of get on top of you. But you got to hardwire your mind into telling yourself that you can do whatever you want to do. At the end of the day, you got to compete against yourself. You got to be better than what you were last week or yesterday. And that is when you're going to improve. That's when you're going to get the results that you want.
Rohan, let's talk a little bit about bad form now. It's obviously a phrase that's been widely used in cricketing circles. Batsmen suffer from it, bowlers suffer from it as well. How exactly can a bowler get themselves out of a bad run of form or a bad patch?
Okay, so a rough patch, right? Rough patch is something that everyone goes through at some point in time of their life. It's natural for us to be in a bad patch, not being able to score runs or take wickets for a string of performances. Like last year itself, I had a pretty rough year. I had a string of few bad performances, and I thought to myself, I'm not getting out of this.
Yeah.
I'm putting myself in a shell, and it's going to be so hard for me to get out of. And because this concept was very new for me, I had gone to my coaches. I asked them, like, what did they do when they were feeling the same way I'm feeling right now? And one common thing that they had told me was that to get out of bad form, what you got to do first is to go back to your basics. What you did when things went well for you. And once you start thinking about those things, it's going to be a lot easier for yourself to get out of bad form and then start performing again. So the key thing is to think about the basics, what you did well, but most importantly, you got to free your mind. I think your mind can be your greatest friend or your worst enemy. If you can free your mind from all these negative thoughts and just think about the good things, it's going to be a lot easier to get back into good shape.
Now that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? When it comes to freeing the mind, how do you rid yourself of these negative thoughts? Is it just a eureka moment, or does it happen slowly over time?
It's just constant reiterations. You gotta keep telling yourself that you can do whatever you want to do. If I'm gonna score this game, I'm gonna tell myself I'm going to do it. And when you keep doing this, whether it's bowling, batting, or fielding, that is when your mind is at ease. And when your mind is at ease, the sky is the limit.
So my next question is about the type of deliveries that you bowl. How do you determine which deliveries you're going to bowl in accordance with the batsman that's on strike or the match situation?
Okay, so for the batsman especially, right? As a bowler, you want to not come into a game unprepared. And what do I mean by this? You got to do your homework. Every good player does his homework. If you search me up, right? If you search me up for any videos on the net, you are going to find it. And just like that, you're going to find videos of other players who you might face as well as an opponent. And you're going to find videos of them, whether it's bowling, batting, or even just them on the field. So when you do that, that is when you can get a hint to their strengths and their weakness. And that is something you can get onto your game. For example, a batsman is not good with the short ball. What you want to do is try and set him up for a short ball. You're going to get a wicket, but you got to do this before the game itself. You can't come into the game, prepare yourself 40 minutes before the actual match start. You got to do this the night before. And all professional teams do it. They've got their own analysts and everything where they learn key things that will be useful for bowlers especially. And that is something you got to use and do constantly before every game. And then once you do that, you sort of get what the batsman is going to do, his weakness, and it's easier to set him up and get wickets or dot balls, etc.
So as you mentioned, planning and preparing before the match is really key. Do you come up with a plan A as well as a plan B and a plan C in the event that the batsman, who's probably prepared to face you as well, throws you off his line by doing something different?
You obviously have to have a contingency plan. You can't just go with one plan and hope that it always works. Plans are usually meant to fail. That's why you have plan B and subsequent plans as well. But in the event that it does work good for you, you've done well. But if it doesn't work, it's always good to have something as a backup.
Rohan, final question. I want to talk about bowling at the start, middle and end overs of an innings. How do your plans change according to the situation?
Okay, so obviously the plan doesn't change so much. So going into bowling, regardless of where I bowl, whether it's at the start, the middle or the last few overs, my only plan is to keep bowling those dot balls. Why dot balls? Because once these dot balls start to accumulate, that's when you're bound to get a wicket. So when you're starting off, obviously you can only have two fielders outside, right? So you want to bowl a bit tighter. You want to bowl a bit tighter, but the key thing is you bowl to your field. You can't be having some guy at long on and then you're bowling outside off, because you want him to hit there. But then if you're bowling it outside off, he's going to hit over there where there's no fielder, and you're just going to give away runs. So the few key things that you got to follow is one, bowl to your field, and two, always just think about bowling dot balls, and then in the end you'll get wickets.